Step right on in. This is where the action is, or was. So a month ago, if you came here, this place was rocking. The team was all here. There were borrowers all over, shareholders visiting. The back living room's always filled. Back conference rooms, finance department. And the only person here today is our controller, Allie Betson. She's all geared up and gloved up too. So let's get it on and see what's going on. So, welcome to where I hang my hat. I gotta get the mic. Okay. So, normally BillyBall, I pride myself on not rehearsing, and we do not edit. But I actually prepared a whole bunch of notes, and what's interesting is I prepared this yesterday morning, and the posts that you see are from an hour ago, watching CNBC and CNN and Fox. And then last night I took a couple of notes. So bear with me if the beginning's a little choppy, but as I get past the first couple of minutes, I think it'll get a little bit smoother. Welcome to my desk. As you can see, by the way, if you notice the layout, I'm also the receptionist, as I've been at this desk for 38 years ago. I bought this desk, and I've been the receptionist ever since, no matter how big my company got. So, also I think we're going to have some way to do questions, right, Octavio?
Yeah, you got 32 live right now watching.
Okay, so if people have questions, they can email their questions to where?
They can email info@procida.com or just type in the comment box. I'll see it every time.
Type in the comment box and you can ask a question, and we'll hit questions at the end.
I'm getting phone
So,
calls that they think it's
first off, a couple of basic comments. One of my favorite Grateful Dead songs is Touch of Grey, and the chorus is, "We will get by and we will survive," and that is a fact. We will survive. So this morning, and I'm going to get rid of my Post-its first, and I really want to do a good job for everybody because, one, you're going to be giving me your time. I care about this country. I care about this business. I care about every business. So this is not going to be the usual funny BillyBall. I'm going to try to stick to what we've been doing, where we are, where we're going, where we think we're going. But just a couple of things. JP Morgan just reported earnings, suggested they might be cutting their dividend, took $8 billion of loss reserves. I'm not sure if that's enough or not. I will say one thing about banks, loss reserves and their the way they pay attention to real estate and just about every other asset class. By the way, this is about as low key as you get, folks. I did this morning myself, but this goes from 87 to today, and actually today's down here. Okay, and Octavio says y'all can't see it, but it's real simple. Banks took losses here, but they didn't need to because value went here. In 2007, 8, and 9, they took losses here, which they didn't have to take because value went up here. And now we're going down, but values always go up. An intrinsic line. Intrinsic's the only purity, which is a look back. So most assets, not all, will return to their pre-virus value eventually. Question is when. And if you keep watching all these scientists, you do hope they're better than weathermen and economists, because I don't know, I didn't even go to college and I don't have a stock and never had a stock, but in August of 19, on my first BillyBall, I said a black swan was coming, and it would knock the Dow down to 20. And the black swan wasn't the reason, and the virus wasn't the reason the market went down to 20. It went down to 20 because it should be there. But let's hope that these scientists give us better information so that we can plan our lives. Today the Dow's up. For what reason, I don't know. I think everybody should just stop trading. I mean, if you really need money that much and you want to keep gambling, I mean, it's just a big gamble. It goes up on emotion and down on emotion, so it's just fear and optimism. That's coming from scientists who we don't know because they all have a different opinion depending on which station you tune into. Another thing this morning I thought was worth bringing up and kind of amusing. Florida's governor considers professional wrestling an essential business. Well, if wrestling's essential, why isn't basketball and baseball and everything else essential? But that's one for this morning that I thought was interesting. Also, the government's bailing out $25 billion for airlines. Do I agree with that? Not really, because airlines go bankrupt all the time. They always keep running. And the only people they're helping are the shareholders who are in it to make money and the banks that finance all the planes. So, I don't know. Another thing I wrote down this morning is the media is sensationalizing this to a point where at 5 o'clock this morning, I turned on CNN and the first thing they showed you was body bags. Second thing they talk about is deaths. Nobody's talking about how many people are recovering, which are in the hundreds of thousands, when there's only, I don't know how many deaths there are at this point, but when you compare recoveries to deaths, and by the way, if you lost somebody, I'm really sorry. It's always painful to lose somebody, but, at this point, we got to start kind of like really looking at our recovery and going, all right, social distancing was probably right. I was probably wrong. I did a bunch of Facebook posts in first week of March saying I'm going to every bar and restaurant I can find and I'm shopping at every local store. I got a 80% positive because nobody knew anything back then, me included. But 20% were kind of radical, including my son, who said, you don't know what you're talking about. You go in a restaurant, it's going to kill people. Well, I don't know if that's true or not. And certainly, I guess the social distancing, if you believe all the models, the historic models they're showing, social distancing has worked. It's been a month now. I was sitting in my office 35 days ago. This place was rocking. And now there's nobody here. We're still working remotely. But, to the media, can we start talking about some of the positive stuff, like how many people are surviving, as opposed to starting your show with body bags? It's just not really helping. I mean, we could go to Afghanistan today and show body bags, and don't forget, 38,000 people a day die of starvation. But we don't talk about that much. So, by the way, one other thing I just want to point out, I don't know about you all, but I love, no matter what show you watch, whether it's politicians or anybody else, I love when they ask a question and the first thing the person says is, that's a great question. I think I'm getting a little tired of that. So here's the current scoop. Cuomo just said we flattened and we're actually starting to dip, which if you track the other countries, we could be 2 weeks away from them letting us out of the cage. Italy's starting to show hope, and I'm hopeful it does, because we got a delivery coming in from Italy. We got 150 or so micro apartments in Jersey City, and our furniture manufacturer for all the Murphy beds and all the cabinets are coming from Italy. They tell us they're going to start shipping soon. When we first heard about this, in January, we started checking supply chains. I tell all of you, particularly if you're in real estate and construction, check your supply chains. Anything coming from overseas, you not only have delays with the country being shut down, but you got delays once they get the product on a ship. Getting it through customs is not going to be an easy task. China says they're back, but who knows? Spain says they're starting to come back. France says they're coming back May 11th. So hopefully, we're going to guess sometime in May, they're going to start doing the rollout. And a rollout it will be. But let me just hit a couple of other points before I get into some sequential things that I thought were important to bring up to everybody. Last night, watching CNBC, they had a guy on from Tulane University talking about the economic divide. and how it's actually shrinking. Now, generally, I think that's good. I mean, look, I'm at the lower quarter of the top 1%. The fact that there's a guy, Mark Cuban, came out yesterday. He's a friend that was a billionaire 60 days ago, and he says he's now worth only $50 million, which may sound like a lot, but then he added with, I don't even know if he's worth $50 million. So there, back in a couple of Billy Balls ago, I said this would be the crash of the 1%, the upper end of the 1%, and it looks like that's what's happening. And look, I'm not going to cry over a guy that was a billionaire that's now worth $50 million. Long-term, biotech obviously is going to be a big thing. But short-term, there is nothing more important. By the way, that cough is from me smoking, not the virus. But short-term, there is nothing that's going to pull this country out other than two things. One, small business. And small business just permeates our country. We don't think about it. And it's not just the local shop or the local restaurant, but the president of Live Nation was just on, and there's many, many music festivals being canceled. And we happen to have a equity interest in one of the best concert venues in the country, the Met in Philly, which Live Nation is our tenant and runs and manages. And they're canceling festivals right and left. Well, what you don't think about is the person that runs the tent company, the person that runs the Porta-John company, the cleaning companies, the sanitation companies, the kids that work there for summer jobs. I mean, them going away and the seasonal businesses going away this year, I don't think our country's going to let it happen, and I'm going to talk about that more. Also, last night, and actually I'm going through this is just last night's watch, is that Skype and Zoom are going to change the way we do business. Well, I just want to say one thing about Skype and Zoom. If you're doing business, I don't care what business you're in, you can't read body language on Skype and Zoom. And if you can't read body language, you can't get a good gauge on what's going on, because you got to look at everybody and how they react to everybody. It's not just what people say. I mean, unfortunately, if you're over 50, you're probably in my bucket where you go, I want to touch people, I want to see people, I want to see how they react amongst one another. I know the under 30 crowd think they can work from their couch in their living room and everything's fine. You know why? Because they didn't teach body language in college. There was a guy yesterday from a social impact investing fund saying all the mega companies, they should just let them go bankrupt, because government bailouts are bailing out the equity shareholders who are in the gambling business. When you buy equity, you're trying to make as much as you can. And nobody listened to me in August of 19 or December of 19 when I said, get out of the stock market. It's not worth 30,000, it's worth 20,000. So to bail people out that were in it to make multiples more than they would get in the bank, I don't understand. And the guy's got a point. And there's plenty of dip lenders. The airlines go bankrupt. They always went bankrupt, so they'll come back. And by the way, another note, this is my own note, because I was watching and everybody's been talking about the nurses and the doctors, and God bless them. And then they started talking. I was talking about the grocery store clerks going back a month ago before the cable news people were. But don't forget, the janitors, the guy that's the train conductor moving the product, the caretaker for your elderly parents, they're just as much heroes, and they deserve accolades, and yes, they deserve battle pay. So now let's talk about the opening. Goldman Sachs said this morning, people just need to get back to work, right? And of course, all our politicians, most of them say people should get back to work. But people, we love to cheer. We love to roar. We love to high five. We love to drink. We love to travel. We love to eat. Nobody's even talking about that. I mean, we only go to work in order to go enjoy ourselves for the 2 days or 3 days a week we get off and the 2 weeks of vacation we get. So if the politicians don't start thinking about us enjoying our lives, we better start thinking about it ourselves. Because if all they're going to do is let us out of the cage to go to work a 9-to-5 job, I don't know, it ain't what I'm about. I want to go see my friends. I want to go to a Grateful Dead concert, and I damn well want to see football. Now, I happen to poll some of the people that work for me that are big baseball fans. I said, would you go to a baseball game in June? They said, hell yeah. I spoke to people in Philly, asked the same thing. Do you want to go see the Phillies? They said, hell yeah. And I think we have something to say about this. Now, there's ways to do it with masks and gloves. Although, listen, I got my gloves. They're all a little worn out. I use this mask, but if I go in the supermarket, I double up. And I'm carrying these things around like crazy. But I just don't see myself or getting in a bathing suit with a mask and gloves. I don't see women getting the bikinis with a mask and gloves. Allie, are you going to wear a mask and gloves with your bikini? No. Okay. So that's something that's very important, because if it's just about work, I mean, I'll stay in quarantine. I'm working my ass off in quarantine, but so. And then one other thing that I saw last night, which is important, and then I'm going to get into my more disciplined presentation, to the extent I can be disciplined, is on a go-forward basis, college has definitely become something different. Number one, we now know that there are specialty jobs, and I've been preaching, by the way, construction trades are making tons of money. You get your electrical license, you're making twice what a college graduate makes. Now, you want to be a lawyer, a doctor, an architect, you got to go to college. But, my kids went to school for communications, and I still don't know what communications is. If it's communicating me and you, I could have taught them communications. Even business management, when I was in high school, that was the big thing, business management. You learn that on the streets. So here's my thing about opening, okay? And now, look, in this company for the past 25 years it's been running, the mantra has always been panic early, panic often, and you never have to panic. And thank God I made this company 25 years. We pay our bills every month. We have zero debt. Never had to tell an employee I couldn't pay him. Never had to tell a vendor I couldn't pay him. And thank God, never defaulted on a loan, because we use loans for projects, but not to run the company. But I think the slogan from Louis Pasteur, who was the famous inventor, is chance favors the prepared mind. Chance favors the prepared mind. So it also favors the prepared person, and of course the prepared business. Now, we got a couple of serious issues. One, unemployment's through the roof. It's going to hit 15%, most people say. But if we go back to work, that'll come down pretty quick. Now, certain industries will react faster than others. I'll talk about that in a minute. Residential mortgage, that's going to be an issue. Do we have another mortgage crisis? I don't think so, because we're still only at 1.2 million housing starts compared to 2.5 million in 2004, 5, 6, and 7. So we've been way under on what I call wholesome housing, which encompasses affordable and stuff that normal people can afford. Give me 1 second. The deficit, holy crap. I forgot how many trillions. I think it was at 28 trillion before the deficit. We're going to go up to 35 trillion. Nobody seems to care about it. I always get in trouble when I say this, but when it comes to national debt, we're still the world's tallest midget. And people still want to buy our debt even if we're paying nothing for the interest, which it seems like that's what's happening. There's definitely a commercial mortgage crisis looming in real estate. Office towers that are going up right now are going to have a hard time leasing. Super luxury malls, I can't see people going out, and I can't see women going out buying another pair of Jimmy Choo shoes. Although, Allie, you probably want to know. But what if you have nowhere to wear those shoes?
My shoes think I'm dead.
Well, if there's no weddings, if there's no parties, if there's no black tie charity events, where the hell do you wear the shoes?
From your living room to your kitchen.
Well, so I'm glad you came today, Allie. I would have had nobody to talk to. But seriously, think about it. If we're not willing to go dancing with each other, and we're not going to go out, well, what the hell is going to happen to the fashion industry? If people have nowhere to wear a new dress or a new suit, they're not going to buy them. Not to mention, if there's no place to go wear the new suit, there's no place to buy them, then there's no need to clean them, so you got the dry cleaners. So everything is kind of going to affect everything here. And again, it gets back to us. I personally don't think that we should be dictated to by the government when we can go out and how we can go out. And it's a tricky thing. I agree. The fact that I don't give a shit whether I get the virus or not, and I don't. And by the way, my father is 88 years old, and he's pissed at me because he hasn't seen me in a month. And he says, I don't care about the virus. Something's going to kill me anyway. However, the other side of that stick is that I could have it and give it to somebody, and I would never want to hurt someone, nor do any of you. So at some point, we've got to figure out, I mean, look, those of you who know me, I'm a hugger and a kisser. I don't care if you're man or woman, black or white or blue or green. You walk in this office, you're generally getting a hug and a kiss. Certainly on the way out, if we're making business, you're getting a hug and a kiss. And I can't believe I'm not going to be able to hug and kiss people. Now, by the way, I'm going through this with my daughter, who moved her wedding from Memorial Day now to mid-July. And I'm hoping people are going to be willing to hug and kiss and dance. But I don't know. It's going to have to do with whether the media wants to keep screwing with us, because that's what it is. Media could say this is great. They could say it's terrible. They keep saying it's terrible. They keep opening up with body bags. Look, eventually they're going to run out of people in body bags. But it's all going to come down to us. So chance will favor the prepared mind and the prepared business. All right, some quick hindsight. So on August 19th, in August of 19, I predicted the black swan was coming. None of the economists did. None of the wealth managers did. I caught a lot of shit. And I ain't a rocket scientist. I just said there hasn't been one in 10 years. It's got to be out there. I didn't know it was whatever it is, a pandemic. And in early December on my BillyBall, I said, there's a recession coming. Do not assume your revenues are going up. Assume your revenues are flat. And I said, whatever you do, hoard cash, pay down debt. So when a recession hits, it's a very simple thing. When a recession hits, people that are in a cash position and aren't pressured by debt survive and do better. And people that have a lot of debt and no cash don't do good. And that's personal and business. I mentioned I was wrong on March 8th when I told everybody to go out and shop and drink and go to restaurants. I'll admit I was wrong. So to my son, who got in World War IV with me, I will admit that I was just about to say I'm probably wrong because it's my son, but he said, listen to the scientists, and at that point I thought they were just like weathermen, so I was wrong. I will say one thing, when the market, the first drop from 29,000 to 26,000, I got right on BillyBall, and I said, get out of 26, it's going to 20, and that was on, that was the first week of March, or no, I think, excuse me, second week of March. So if you listened and got out at 26, bravo. If you got out at 30 or 29 in August, extra bravo. And what you can do for me, by the way, is donate some of that money you didn't lose to a charity. All right, so another thing I was wrong about, and by the way, I'm going to be having my shareholder meeting on Thursday the same way here electronically, which will be interesting. But On April 12th, I told my investors that I was doing a stress test, and that stress test was based on what I believed at the time, on April 12th, was the market would return to normalcy within 4 months. Right now, that does not appear to be the case. So what did I do? I sent out to my shareholders a new stress test that goes out to December 21 with the assumption that values pre-virus recover by 12/21. Now, if anything recovers sooner, all the better. So, some good things that have happened with the quarantine. I became a better cook. I'm sure all you have. I gained 10 pounds. I think that's why I'm sitting down under the desk. We got to know our neighbors, and everybody got kinder. I think genuinely 9/11, Sandy, Katrina, that's what's great about us. We actually get kind during a crisis. Why we go back to being assholes after the crisis, I don't know, but if we can hold the kind card, that would just be great. We also know what's important. And what's important is not another pair of Jimmy Choo shoes or a Louis Vuitton handbag. Allie. I mean, how many of them can you use? You know, one thing I learned is I hardly need anything. I need my cigarillos, I need my Chardonnay, and some decent food to eat. One really good thing, pollution has gone crazy way down. I was on the phone with my friend, the mayor of Patterson, where we have $50 million invested. Crime has plummeted. That's a great thing. They should keep us quarantined. For that reason alone, we might be able to say we should quarantine or maybe have curfews. But, man, when you take a high-crime neighborhood and it plummets, that's a good thing. Car crashes are obviously down. By the way, the one investment I had, which I thought was absolutely bulletproof, we made a loan to a tow truck company, a major tow truck company. And I thought, no matter what happens, and this was when I made the loan in December, no matter what happens, nothing can affect the tow truck company. Well, if people ain't driving, they don't need tow trucks. So nothing's perfect. We also learned respect for people we never thought of, those grocery store clerks, the nurses, and as I said, the janitors who clean up after the nurses, and everybody there. I mean, hopefully people don't forget this. The respect that we have for them now, when we go to the grocery store and thank them for working, I hope that sticks. And the other good thing is there is a reality to pent-up demand. When you look at housing particularly, which is my specialty, there is a sequence of people growing, people having kids. Housing should always be like this. Now it goes like this and like this because of the money it made available. But there's a real pent-up demand out there in housing. And the good news about the pandemic is there'll be no new supply started until January next year. I am sure of that. Nothing to speak of. So if you're in the middle of a construction job and you're going to finish end of the year, early next year, you should be in good shape. And one message to banks out there: do not stop funding construction. I wrote the coming of the half-builts in 05 and 06. I said, whatever you do, don't stop construction. Instead, you all sold the debt at 50 cents on a dollar. Guys like me came and bought it, finished the building, and made a bundle. It also happened with the RTC in 88 to 91. Sold at a discount. Now, the fact is, the government enabled them because the government backstops the banks. So the government's got to keep the banks strong because that's the only place we can put our money. But whatever you do, bankers, one, I said it in my last BillyBall, you are going to be the new doctors. You must treat your borrowers like patients and help them. We dedicated one of the guys in our office to do nothing but to do government grant applications. We did that a month ago. We were way ahead of it. You gotta help your borrower. Look, the bad news is the bigger the company, the slower the recovery. I had this argument with my daughter about her wedding. I said, if they don't open up the hotel till June 1, Big hotels, you got to put everybody back through HR. You got to put and you got to hope they're around. You got to put everybody back through training. You got to get all your supplies. I mean, big hotels just don't open like that. Now look, the truth is, smaller hotels will open faster. You got a 10, 20 room boutique hotel, you can be open in 30 days notice. You got a big hotel with 300, 400, 500 employees, that's a 3-month job. The other thing bad is government and politics. You know, as some of you may know, Donald Trump, one of the only jobs I had when I was 25, 26, I was vice president of his company. I know him intimately. Chuck Schumer, Democrat. I ran a number of events for him as finance chairman, raising money for him when he was in 4th place. Chuck came to all of my groundbreakings and ribbon cuttings in the Bronx and Harlem. Schumer, Cuomo, and Trump were all best of friends in the 80s. I don't know why this divide. And if you've heard me before, I also don't know why we even have Democrats and Republicans. Why can't we just all be Americans? They're going to screw this up. The SBA program is already getting raped and gamed and screwed up. So the bad is we got to still worry about politics. The wild card is human courage. How much human courage do we have to get our country back on its feet? So, to open. I actually prepared myself because I want to do a good job for you all, and I actually went through and made a nice list so I don't ramble too much. First thing to open is CEO leadership. Now, if you run a little delicatessen, you may not think you're a CEO, but you're a CEO. In fact, you might be the CEO, the head of human resources, the chief financial officer, and a lot of other things. But that's what you are. And CEO leadership is what it's all going to be about. And I don't care if it's a mega company or a little company or a corner deli. How you prepare. Chance favors the prepared mind. How you prepare. And I'll give you a little example. I'm very involved. I volunteer with my local Chamber of Commerce in Piermont. I said to all the bars, I said, in the restaurants, I said, I miss you guys. And by the way, I miss all the people I meet at the bars because, as some of you might know, if you're looking for me on a Friday afternoon, sometimes a Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday afternoon, you can find me at any one of the 5 restaurants and bars in Piermont. So I said to them, I said, why aren't you doing Zoom happy hours? And they all were like, oh, yeah. I'm like, I'll tip my bartender. I want to see the guys I always see and the girls I always see. So hopefully they're getting ready to reinvigorate their customer base. Because that's what you got to do. I don't care if you're a gym. God knows I need my gym back. But you got to re-engage your customer base. But let's talk about something important that nobody's talking about. For a small business to reopen, a restaurant, a deli, dry cleaner, nail salon, they've got to renegotiate with their landlord. Now, nobody's really walked this through, and if anybody from the government's watching, listen to this, because you guys haven't brought this up once. If I was shut down for 3 months, I got no income for 3 months, I can't pay the last 3 months. Now, maybe I can pay it down the road, but I can't pay it. I need a deal. If my landlord is a caring, sympathetic person, or even a good business person, because why would he throw me out if I ran a good business, right? Because what's he going to do? Throw me out, take 6 months to release, tenant improvements, redesign, construction, blah, 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 plus a new broker commission. Even if you're not a nice person, landlords, be compassionate. It's good business. But here's the problem. Nobody's talked about. The landlord's then got to go to his lender and get their approval. So, and a lot of lenders are participants, or God forbid you have a CMBS loan. And if you ever dealt with a commercial mortgage-backed securities servicer, they got a book this big they got to go through just to say hello. Forget about giving you a break. So nobody's talked about that. The government does have to get ahead of that one. But the problem is you got folks like me that I'm a private lender. The government doesn't dictate to me. I don't get any money from the government. But however, what am I doing? I'm working with my borrowers, helping them with their government grants, giving them strategies for marketing. And if you're an investor, that's what you should be doing. By the way, you also, if you're an investor, if you're a passive investor, you better start talking to who you invested your money with. Because if they're telling you everything's great, everything ain't great. I mean, even for us, these next 90 to 120 days are going to be challenging. Fortunately, a lot of our loans have interest reserves, so we're going to be able to make our dividend, we believe, through the end of the year. But I'm working, and my team's working twice as hard right now, helping our borrowers survive and go one step further. We're not just helping our borrowers, we're reaching out to their tenants and helping them. So, proactive, chance favors the prepared mind. So, the first thing to open up, I think, of course, will be everybody needs a haircut, beauty salon. I know the nail salons. I hope my gym opens because I got to get the hell back in the gym. But we need the restaurants and the concert halls and the ball games to come back. I mean, one thing you want to watch, if they cancel football, I'm going to be pissed. I mean, I don't care if I got to go with a hat and the gloves and a gas mask. I want to go see my football. And by the way, I think most baseball people want to see their baseball. The sad thing is, again, I mentioned this before, but the tuxedo rental guy, the prom dress, the store, the limos, I mean, all the proms got canceled, all the charity events are getting canceled. Forget about the dollars and the memories lost. If we're not willing to go out and dance and hug and high five, I don't know how we fix the country. And if we're going to wait, by the way, everything, wait till we got a vaccine. Well, what about the next virus? And by the way, what about, SARS came and went. I didn't really know what even happened. And there were a couple of other viruses in the past 20 years that all of us, we kept working, and everybody says this one's worse. Well, I get the flu every year, and Allie will tell you, because Allie's not only my controller, she's my caretaker sometimes. I think I'm going to die every time I get the flu. I mean, when I get the flu, I call Allie and go, I'm dying. Bring me soup, bring me so, but to wait for a vaccine means the next time, and look, if you believe some of the scientists I've heard, these viruses are getting more intense and more difficult to ascertain the vaccine. So what are we going to do? Stay in for the rest of our lives, or wear masks for I can't see myself going around with a mask for the rest of my life, and I'm probably not going to do it. So this is like a shark attack, by the way. So going back to the Major League Baseball, basketball, football, or more particularly the concert business. Now I got a couple of investors in the fund that are in the rock and roll business, pretty big. In fact, one of them some of the biggest. They don't want to be the first, I don't think. And by the way, 80% of the people want them to go on tour this summer. 80% want the tour. The problem is, in this day and age, with cameras and social media and all of that, they don't want to get lambasted by the 20% who say, oh, you shouldn't have done it. By the way, this desk's from 1981. It was my first investment. For those of you under 40, when I bought this desk, the height of technology was a beeper. And, there's something to be said. If this came in 1980, I guarantee you they'd be playing basketball, baseball, football, and the bands would be touring. But it's just like a shark attack. Somebody's got to be the first to get back in the water. So, please, You know, do we need another month? Yeah. Do we need 2? I don't know. But somebody's got to step in and say, I'm going on tour. It is good all the mayors and governors are getting together and having reopening councils. I thought what Cuomo did yesterday was real good. Check your supply chain. Make sure you're going to have what you need, whether you're running a business and store, and don't overorder. Particularly in construction, long lead items, check them. Redo your budget and schedule, not just for 2020, but for 21 and 22. If you're going to come to somebody like us for money or a bank, you better have yourself wired tight, know what you need, how you're going to pay it back, or how you're going to service the debt. Construction, as I said, you got to finish. What may not ever return is super luxury anything. I mean, some of these malls, I just don't see them working. They're going to have to be repurposed, and if we know anything now, a mall can easily become a hospital. So get your P&Ls done, re-examine your balance sheet, get intense on HR, marketing, and you got, by the way, I'm not a tech guy, and I never did Zoom in my life until a month ago. It's fun though. I've been getting together with I see my family now more by Zoom than I did in the last 20 years. We have Saturday night dinners together, boatload of fun. So help your tenants, sell equity if you have to. But I got one thing to say that's very serious. And you've heard me rip Amazon and home delivery because of all the environmental conditions it causes between trucks driving a little box. The packages, the product's this big, the box this big. The truck delivers it. It's just pollution, pollution, pollution. But here's the thing. Government, to every politician out there, why in the hell save small business if you're simply going to let Amazon put them out of business? And it's not just Amazon, it's any home delivery. And as I've said, if you lose downtowns, you will increase crime, you will decrease property values. So I don't care if you're in a luxury neighborhood or a poor neighborhood. Think about downtown gone, and all there is a nail salon. It's not going to be a very valuable town. Your real estate taxes are going to go up because they're going to lose their rateables. So after this is over, we got to put a tax on home delivery. And by the way, our government will never do it because everybody's in everybody's pocket. So vote with your pocketbooks. You've heard me say that before. We need to support our local downtowns, if for nothing else, to save the value of our homes and to keep our property taxes down. I've heard everybody in the world complain about property taxes. But again, why save small business just to put them out of business with Amazon and every other one? Do we have some questions yet? Because I think I'm coming to a close.
Yeah.
But number one, again, we need courage. Don't be a vulture. This is not the time to be a vulture. Be kind. Help others in every way, business, personal. And guys, do never underestimate love. Love what you do. Love who you're doing it with. Just good old-fashioned love.
Tell them to start asking questions.
All right. We got any questions out there? I had 3 more pages of notes, but we've gone 45 minutes, which is probably enough of hearing me. Anything out there, Octavio? All right. Well, listen. To our clients, we're here to help. To our investors, banks, we're going to continue to work our ass off. But if values, pre-virus values, do not return by December of 21, we all may have a bigger problem than our pocketbooks. And I believe the only way values return is if us, citizens of the world, by the way, and by the way, I want to wait and see. I want to wait and see when they tell Europeans they can't watch what they call football. which we call soccer. I don't believe that they're going to put up with it. I also don't believe that come June, when it's 90 degrees out, that they're not going to let us on the beaches. And remember, most apartments don't have air conditioning in New York City and Newark and wherever, Philly. And they're going to have to let us out to the beaches. I want to see them arrest everybody.
I got a question.
Oh, we got a question?
What do you see the values of commercial real estate trending, leases and sales? Randy Horning.
All right, Randy out there wants to know how do I see real estate values? So, first off, we started swearing off anything luxury back in, I wrote an article called 4 More Years I wrote it in 14. And it was simple. In Manhattan, there were 15,000 housing starts in 13 and it jumped to 65,000. And they were all super high rises, 3 million to 50 million. So we backed off of that. I don't think the $10 million and up condo market recovers for I don't know how long. And by the way, this wasn't me, this was Wells Fargo in last spring. I think it was spring of 19, it could have been in 18. Actually, Redline, Greenwich, Connecticut, one of the richest places in the world, saying they won't make a home mortgage there without 30% down because they believe that there could be a 30% value reduction. I think it might be more than that. 50 Cent bought Mike Tyson's house. I think he had it on the market for $38 million for 5 years. $38 million for 5 years. And he just sold it for $3 million last summer. So, look, like anything else, bubbles pop. Good old-fashioned wholesome stuff, neighborhood retail, wholesome housing, my tow truck company, that's a good stable place to be, and values have to return. Look, go back. By the way, here, I forgot. Here's my chart. Made it this morning personally for you, just for that question. Housing values, real estate values will always go up. What you see in pink, by the way, are the hyper things. So in this instance here, you may not see luxury condos regain their value over 10 million. Go ahead, next question.
What do you feel about our reliance on China, Denise?
Denise wants to know what I think about China.
The reliance on China.
Oh, reliance on China. Well, I got nothing against China. I got a lot of Chinese friends. But look, we got to make our own stuff. And, look, what we don't understand anymore is that, you notice when you pull up a magazine where Michigan will advertise in a New York magazine saying move to Michigan and we'll give you subsidies, right? And that's the government of Michigan and North Carolina. They go to all the cities that are too expensive and they try to steal our companies. Well, and that's okay because, by the way, every state in this country is in competition with the other states, right? So the better your worker, the better your workforce, the better your politics, the better your tax base. We are in competition with each state. However, all of us in America are in competition with China. And China's in competition with Russia. So, yeah, we don't want to rely on anybody. We want them relying on us for something other than our money, because all we do is give out our money. What's the next
Next question from Christopher. Can you touch on construction costs, material and labor in today's environment projecting 2 years out?
There is a big disparity in construction. Number one, the cover of Build a Magazine 2 years ago had the word labor with blood dripping down because there was a labor shortage. We have a gigantic labor shortage in construction. What they should do is, when everybody's in prison, they should train them to be plumbers, electricians, masons. It's the single easiest skill set to learn. It takes some discipline, but let's face it, a former convict is not going to walk into a dentist's office and be a receptionist. Maybe they will, I don't know. But construction, it's a rough and tumble group of guys. And we already do a lot of of training for formerly incarcerated people. So we need more people in the construction trades. There are some jobs that are just do not warrant what they're getting paid, and there's some that warrant more. But if kids today realized that they have two choices: go to college, become an electrician, and make $200,000 in your fifth year. I mean, not go to college and become an electrician, go to trade school, costs practically nothing, or go to college and have $250,000 of student debt and go make 50 grand. I mean, come on, folks. Any others?
Yeah. So for Maria, do you think there will be a shift to allow mixed-use development? People prefer to walk into a local cafe and tea store rather than a large mall.
So the question's from who?
Maria.
Maria wants to know if I think there'll be more mixed-use development. Well, look, certainly during the quarantine, it would have been convenient to come downstairs and get what you need, right, and go up. Mixed-use development, by the way, it's a buzzword that was only created in 2005-ish, I think. Excuse me. Again, that's smoking. Don't smoke. Bad for you. But mixed-use development has been around since forever. I mean, go to Little Italy, go to any place in New York City, go to any place in Italy, go to any place in Europe. You always had a store downstairs and some apartments upstairs. So, yeah, mixed use, as long as they don't overdo it. Here's what I mean by overdoing it. You only need so much retail, right? So these massive retail bases with apartments above, we don't want to see them getting overbuilt. Because there's just this is not scientific, but I'm going to guess if you have a block with 10-story buildings, you only need 2 of them to have a retail base, right? Because you need all those buildings to support that retail. So we got to be very careful not to overbuild retail, but mixed use is fine. And it's go back, tax the shit out of Amazon and every other home delivery and Peapod and blah blah blah, and you will bring back this country so much faster. And yes, your mixed use property will thrive. You let Amazon keep running the way it is, I'm telling you, other than a restaurant, and they'll figure out a way to buy that up because they bought up Whole Foods, we just gotta get rid of home delivery, and not to mention, as I said this one before too, the more you shop locally, the more you get to know your neighbors. Those store owners tend to be local people, and that's how information gets shared. And that's why in the old days, there was less crime downtowns, because the store owner knew the bad kids. I was one of them. So go ahead. We got another question.
So I got a Michael. He says, I have a client building and a new condominium project. All approvals in place and ready to start marketing. M&T pulled financing approval. Any suggestions?
Michael is talking about a ground-up development.
He says a new condominium project.
New condominium project. I wonder if I know who that is.
Michael Borozinski?
No, I don't know who that is, and I won't name the bank, but he just mentioned he's a project fully approved, ready to go, and the bank just pulled the plug on his construction loan. So here's what I would tell you. If you have current debt on the land, got to go negotiate some kind of deferral. Practically speaking, from our point of view, our fund is taking a pause on ground up right now. We have a couple of select properties that we approved back in the fall and winter that we will entertain on a little bit of a modified basis. But if I own dirt right now that was approved, I would let the supply that's in construction come out. So you got supply today that's coming out. So even if you were 90% complete, that product's not getting finished and CO'd till December. If you have a project that was just started, you're looking at next summer. So if I own land, I think I want to push my start date out, bite the bullet, tell your investors, be transparent, bite the bullet, be ready to go. That means, by the way, have your buyout done, reevaluate your finished schedule, reevaluate everything, right? Because the product you were going to build pre-virus might not be the product you build post-virus. And get a new loan in place. Listen, banks aren't going to take. Banks right now are flooded with these SBA PPP applications. There's another program coming out, which I think is a great one for small business to pay off their loans. Again, I would say to the government, why save small business? You can let Amazon kill them. I'm sorry if I keep hitting that, but it's so true. But it's Michael. Michael, first off, anybody that's on this call can call me or email me. Okay, my email's on my website. Unfortunately, so is my cell phone. But yeah, by the way, as anybody who works for me will tell you, I pick up the phone for anybody and try to help everybody. Because the trick to making money in life is if you think you got to make money tomorrow morning, you ain't gonna ever make money. So our philosophy here is we help people. We never say the words, we can't help you. We might not tell you what you want to hear, but we'll never say the words, we can't help you. So you can call, tell me where it is, tell me what it is, I'll tell you what I think. And, you know, we've financed over $3-4 billion of ground up construction. We'll be back in it, just not tomorrow morning.
How many more do you want to take?
I'll take, well, let's see, we said we go an hour, so we'll go one or two more.
Okay, I got Mark. Other than towing companies, what small business industries do you see thriving in the next 5 years?
Well, I'd love to know how old he is. And who's the question from?
Mark, latest.
Mark. So Mark, I wish I knew how old you were, because
He looks young.
you're talking to a guy who is 57, was born in 62. When I was in grade school, as young as third or fourth grade, I used to be able to ride my bike to the
He's 32.
He's 32. So we used to ride our bike to Guerra's Sports Shop in Bergenfield, and or Bauer's Sports Shop in Dumont, and they were both little tiny places, but that's where you would get your uniform for baseball or basketball or football. It's where you'd buy your mitt. It's where you'd buy your helmet, it's. I wish the small sporting goods stores came back, because that was part of the fabric. Will it? No, because you got Dick's, you got, Sports Authority, and it just ain't the same. Because when you walked in the Guerra's or Bauer's, there was Mr. Bauer or Mr. Guerra, actually Mr. and Mrs. Guerra. So if anybody's out there from Bergenfield or Dumont, you'll remember Guerra's Sports Shop in Bergenfield. Oh, by the way, the big one was Cowan's in Hackensack. And that was even that big, but there was a Mr. Cowan and a Mrs. Cowan. And they served you great, and it was just, so I know your question was what retail does good. It's like anything else. You put on a good presentation, you run a disciplined business. In today's day and age, you have a good social media presence, you're interactive with your customer, you appreciate your customer, you give great customer service, and those are always the businesses that'll do good. Now look, the reality is Amazon ain't going away so fast, so really you got what I call touch and feel businesses. Restaurants, nail salons, barbershops, gyms. Amazon can't do sit-ups for you. And me, I don't like to do sit-ups by myself. In fact, it's 30 days, I gained 10 pounds, I haven't done a sit-up. I work out every day. I do 100, 200 sit-ups every day, except without the gym opened, I just can't get my head around working out. So it will be retail that, again, presents well, does their job right, but are more high-touch retail. It's a shame that clothing stores still, I think, will have an edge, because I think women still like to try on their shoes and clothes. Allie, you like to try on your shoes and your clothes, right?
I do, yes.
So you'll buy your coffee from Amazon, but you won't buy your clothes from Amazon.
Correct.
There you go. So if you really want to know anything about retail, don't ask a guy, ask a woman. Last one, Octavio.
So the last one I got from William.
From William, great name. From William.
Question: do you think office properties should be repurposed to residential? There's going to be an abundant amount of office properties. Companies are going to realize they can get the same productivity from their workers at home, and will probably get rid of the space and not carry out that overhead.
All right, so look, the question was about what happens with all the office buildings. Will they be repurposed for residential? They'll be repurposed for a lot. I'll tell you one thing. There's a term called shadow space in the office industry. You don't see it in the retail industry because retail is right in your face. In office, the big Fortune 1000s keep extra space. They lease extra space in case they need it. Now, Anthony Malkin, who's a good friend, I saw an interview. He owns the Empire State Building. And he has a thesis, which is interesting, which is, WeWorks put everybody on top of one another. And by the way, my space here, it's a trading desk platform. And now that's because I'm a freak. I like to hear every conversation going on. But his theory is people will require more space, not less. So I think you'll see less shadow space. Will we see a return to the old-fashioned one-person office? I don't know. You young people kind of like the interaction. My daughters work for Salesforce. I mean, it's like romper room. I mean, they got bars, they got pool tables, ping pong tables. I think it's fun. I don't know how much work they get done. But yes, there is going to be an abundance of office space because we still have in the major cities some big supply coming, particularly in New York. I think it might be the same in some other cities. I can't speak to LA and San Fran, although, San Fran, see, that's different. San Fran, a lot of people, it's all tech, so they'll work from home well. You get into New York where you're in more rough and tumble stuff. Certainly if I'm designing a building, I got to be with the architect, the engineer, the contractors. I got to see them. I got to be there. We got to fight. We got to see who's moving. But you'll see. Look, in the last cycle, we saw a lot of office space get repurposed. More of the older buildings. The newer buildings may be a challenge because they have curtain wall with no windows. So we'll see what happens. I think that's the last of the questions. Please tell your politicians, don't save small business and then kill them by letting Amazon ruin their business. We cannot be a society where the only downtown business is cut your hair and do your nails. It's just not the way we were meant to exist. And frankly, you're going to get to know your neighbors and your friends. Also, tell the media, stop sensationalizing this. I mean, it's bad, I know. But you don't have to start every morning with body bags and deaths. And again, I'm sorry to anybody who's lost somebody. By the way, I've lost friends during this pandemic, not from the virus, from good old, I shouldn't say good old, but I have a friend that died of cancer. I got a friend that died of a heart attack. People die. There's no reason that you have to sensationalize it, and you're ruining the American psyche. And without the American psyche being positive and saying, we want to cheer, we want to roar, we want a show, we want a concert, that's what it's all about. That's what we're all about. Go back to the days of the Romans, the Colosseum. We're humans. Humans love to cheer and roar and drink much more than we love to work. So on that note, and we did it in an hour, I hope this was good. I hope we get back on our feet. And just remember, peace and love will get you through. Have a nice day, folks.